Hey guys, Pierre from Into Fly Fishing. I'm busy setting up my nymphing rig for a competition that we're having over the weekend. One of the most effective setups and techniques to use in these trout streams close to Cape Town is a setup called the dry and dropper. In this video I'm going to show you how to tie 3 different styles of dry dropper rig. I'm also going to explain why this rig is so effective and also show you how to successfully fish the dry dropper rig setup. I've recently been doing a lot of Euro Nymphing with a Moonshine Vesper 10.5 with 3-weight fly rod. Click on the top right of your screen to check out my full review on the Moonshine Vesper Euro Nymphing rod. This video on the dry drop rig is part of an in-depth Euro Nymphing series on our channel. Be sure to check the links in the video description down below to watch more videos in this series. This dry and drop rig allows you to focus on 2 main areas where trout feed: surface and subsurface. The dry fly probably has the hardest job of both these flies. It has 3 key functions. The first is that it must remain suspended even while floating a heavy nymph on the bottom. Second is it needs to act as a strike indicator, so it needs to be visible for an angler to detect any takes on the nymph. The third is it still needs to look and act natural to attract takes. The main purpose of the subsurface fly is to get down to where the fish are feeding. For the subsurface fly, an emerger or a heavily weighted nymph works excellent. So why on earth would you use a dry dropper rig instead of a normal nymphing rig or a standard dry fly rig? So the first point I already touched on earlier. Dry dropper rig enables you to fish a wider portion of the water column. I've also found that the nymph at the bottom of the dry fly anchors the dry fly, especially on windy days. Probably one of my favorite reasons to use the dry and dropper rig is that if a fish rises to your dry fly and misses it, or you miss the take, it's easy to represent that rig to the fish and there's a good chance that he'll eat the nymph. So with that out of the way, let's look at 3 methods how you can set up the dry dropper rig. So with the first method, where you use a surgeon's knot, you have your reel and your fly line attached to it, and then the connection between your fly line and your favorite leader is right there. Here you can use any tapered leader or any homemade leader that's 100%. All that I do is I attach a little tippet ring to the end of it. To tie on the tippet ring, you can use a simple clinch knot. This just saves your leader so that you don't have to change leaders as often. To illustrate the tippet to you, I'll be using a piece of orange monofilament for the first section of tippet. Attach that to the end of the tippet ring with a normal clinch knot or whatever knot you prefer. Now, to illustrate the second piece of tippet, I'll be using a chartreuse monofilament about 2 or 3 feet long. Now the key is to join these 2 pieces of tippet with a surgeon's knot. Here I'm going to use a double surgeon's knot, but you're welcome to use a triple surgeon's knot too. All that you do is lay the 2 pieces of tippet next to each other. The one on the left goes to the reel and the one on the right is the new piece you're tying in, and just do a double surgeon's knot right there. Now you'll notice that the tag end of the chartreuse line is showing towards the reel, and the tag end of the first piece of tippet that you tied in, the orange piece, is showing downwards. So we want to keep the orange tag, the first piece of tippet that you tied in. So all that we're going to do is take your pair of scissors and remove the tag end of the second piece of tippet you tied in. So this orange tag will be used to tie in our dry fly. But the problem is that this tag end is not perpendicular with this whole rig. So what ends up happening is the dry fly wraps around the rig the whole time. To mitigate this, we just do one overhand knot with this piece of orange tag line around the chartreuse line, and we pull it tight. There you can see that orange tag is now perpendicular with the whole rig, keeping the dry fly out of the way. So that's how you set up a surgeon's knot dry dropper rig. The second method I call the truck and trailer because the nymph is attached in line with the dry fly. So once again, the same as the previous method, you have a reel with your fly line attached to it, and then a connection to your tapered leader or whatever leader system you're using, and then at the end of your leader you have a tippet ring. To keep the convention standard, I'm using a red piece of monofilament as the first piece of tippet. Attach this to your tippet ring with whatever knot you prefer. Here once again I'm using a clinch knot. And trim off the tag end. From that tippet ring you have your 2 feet of tippet, and then you attach your dry fly as you normally would. Here I've just got a big cling hammer. This is why it's called the truck and trailer. I'm using a second piece of tippet, this chartreuse monofilament, and I'm going to attach it to the bend of the hook. You take about 2 or 3 feet of tippet and you use the bend of the hook as an eye. So you fold the monofilament double or your tippet double and you hook it with your fly, and then you just form a standard knot. Once again, any knot that you prefer. Just pull it tight. Trim off the tag end. Now from there you've got about 2 feet or 3 feet of tippet, and to the end of that you'll attach your nymph. As you can see, this method is very quick and very fast to tie. I still use it. It's not my primary method, but I still use it, especially when I want to adapt my style of fishing very quickly. This method works excellent. One of the downsides is that if this second piece of tippet is too short, you tend to foul a lot of fish. So once you see that start happening, just lengthen this section and that should be sorted out. The third method uses the tippet ring to attach the tag end for the dry fly. For this you still have your reel, your fly line with a connection to your favorite leader. It goes up to this tippet ring. Now you tie in a second piece of tippet represented by the chartreuse line. And you attach it with a standard clinch knot. So now you have the line that's coming from your reel to the tippet ring and this new piece of tippet. Now you cut a short section for the dry fly line that is attached to this original tippet ring as well. So essentially you're attaching 3 lines to this tippet ring. Pull it tight. And here you have it. So basically what's happening is you've got this line that's coming from your reel. The second piece of orange tippet is where you attach your dry fly to. It sits nice and perpendicular. And you've got the piece of chartreuse line that's running down to your nymph. And finally, how do you fish the dry and dropper rig? Well, the dry and dropper rig can be used on both rivers and still waters or lakes. On rivers, the main aim is to allow the flies to drift through the water naturally. So whether you're fishing a long pool with a long cast or working small pocket water, always keep the drag in mind. Flies need to drift down naturally or otherwise a trout won't eat it. On lakes and still waters, wind is your friend. Make a long cast into a spot where you think the fish are holding and allow the wind to drift this dry dropper rig through the water. Keep a good eye on the dry fly as the takes on the nymph can be very subtle. This is one of the most effective ways to work still water. I hope that you found this tutorial helpful, and if you did, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications, and we can let you know as soon as we release any future fishing tutorials. Until next time, cheers.